The thing about betrayal is that it announces itself in the smallest transactions. A withdrawn smile, a password changed without mention, a receipt crumpled at the bottom of a handbag. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I found mine in a bank statement. My name is Ben McAllister, and I used to think I knew my wife. 35 years on this earth taught me that people are code, predictable patterns, logical sequences, the occasional bug that needs debugging. Rebecca was different, though. She was the one variable I never questioned, the constant in my equation, until she wasn't. It was a Tuesday when I noticed the first withdrawal, $2,000 cash from our joint account. Rebecca had always been careful with money, methodical even. We'd built our life on spreadsheets and 5-year plans. This didn't fit the pattern. "Babe, what's this withdrawal for?" I asked that evening, laptop balanced on my knees as she scrolled through her phone on the couch. She didn't look up. "Personal expenses." $2,000 in personal expenses? "Since when do I need to justify every purchase to you?" Her tone carried an edge I didn't recognize. I let it go. That was my first mistake. The second withdrawal happened a week later. $3,500 this time. Then another. The pattern emerged like malware in a system, regular, purposeful, hidden just enough to avoid immediate detection. I'm a cybersecurity specialist. I find holes in systems for a living. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd missed the biggest vulnerability in my own life. Rebecca had reconnected with her college friends after a reunion 3 months ago. She'd been different since then, distant, distracted, her phone always face down on the table. She started working late, attending networking events, taking weekend trips for professional development. I believed her because that's what you do when you trust someone. You believe them until the evidence becomes too heavy to ignore. The anonymous email arrived on a Thursday. "Your wife isn't who you think she is. Check flight records. R. McAllister and E. Hayes, departing Friday to Cascade Resort, Colorado." No signature, no return address, just coordinates to a truth I wasn't ready to face. I sat in my home office, the blue light from my monitor casting shadows across the walls. Mia, my assistant, had left for the day. The house was quiet except for the sound of Rebecca's shower running upstairs. I pulled up the flight booking database, easy enough when you know your way around firewalls, and there it was. 2 tickets, first class, Rebecca McAllister and Ethan Hayes. Ethan Hayes. The name scraped against my memory. Corporate lawyer, smooth talker, Rebecca's college boyfriend, the one she'd mentioned casually when talking about old friends at the reunion. The one she'd said meant nothing anymore. I felt something crack inside my chest, a physical sensation like ice splitting under pressure. The shower shut off upstairs. I heard Rebecca humming something, light and careless. I closed the laptop and sat in the darkness, feeling the weight of knowledge settle into my bones. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay next to my wife, a stranger wearing a familiar face, and planned. By morning, I'd made my decision. I wouldn't confront her, not yet. I needed proof that couldn't be explained away, couldn't be gaslit into my imagination. I called Mia first thing Friday morning. "I need you to do something for me," I said. "It's personal." Mia had worked for me for 2 years, 26, sharp as hell, with a talent for reading between lines. She'd noticed Rebecca's coldness during the office Christmas party, the way my wife barely acknowledged my assistant's existence. "Whatever you need," Mia said. I gave her the flight information. "I need eyes on them. Pictures, videos, anything concrete." There was a pause. "Ben, are you sure you want to see this?" "I need to know." "Okay, I'll catch the same flight." I spent the day in a fog, going through the motions at work, responding to emails I wouldn't remember sending. Rebecca texted me around noon. "Have a great weekend. Girls' trip to the spa, remember? Love you." The casualness of the lie took my breath away. I typed back, Have fun. Love you too. The words felt like ash in my mouth. Mia's first message arrived Saturday afternoon, a photo. Rebecca and Ethan at the resort, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. They looked happy, natural, like a real couple. The next photo showed them kissing by a fireplace, then entering a room together, his hand on the small of her back. I stared at the images until they blurred. Some part of me had hoped I was wrong, that there was an explanation, that the anonymous tip was a cruel prank. But reality doesn't care about hope. My phone buzzed. Mia again. I'm so sorry, Ben. Do you want me to come back? No, stay. Document everything. The weekend stretched into eternity. I moved through the house like a ghost, touching objects that suddenly meant nothing. The coffee maker we'd bought together, the couch where we'd planned our future, the bed where I'd slept alone, believing she was at a spa with girlfriends. Rebecca returned Sunday evening, glowing with what she'd told me would be cucumber facials and hot stone massages. She kissed my cheek, and I smelled cologne that wasn't mine. How was your trip? I asked, my voice steady. Exactly what I needed, she said, already turning away. I'm exhausted, though. Early night for me. She disappeared upstairs, leaving me standing in the kitchen with the weight of her lies pressing down on my lungs. Mia returned to the office Monday with a USB drive. Everything's here, she said quietly, setting it on my desk. Her hand lingered for a moment, and I saw something in her eyes, sympathy mixed with something else I couldn't name. Thank you, I said. What are you going to do? Good question. I'd spent the entire weekend thinking about it. The old Ben would have confronted her immediately, demanded answers, and tried to fix what was broken. But that Ben had ended somewhere between Friday and Monday. This new version understood something fundamental. Rebecca had made her choice. Now I'd make mine. I'm going to return the favor, I said. I spent 2 weeks gathering intelligence. As a cybersecurity specialist, I had tools most people only saw in movies. I accessed Rebecca's email, her text messages, her calendar. Every password she'd ever changed, I broke in 30 seconds. Every secret she thought she'd hidden, I unearthed. The affair had started 4 months ago, right after the reunion. Ethan had initiated it with a simple text. Great seeing you again. Let's catch up properly, without old classmates around. Rebecca's response had been eager. I'd love that. When? They'd met for coffee that week. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became hotel rooms. The progression was textbook, almost boring in its predictability. What gutted me were the intimate details, the way she described me to him. Ben's comfortable, but he's not exciting anymore. He lives in his computer screen. I need someone who reminds me I'm alive. Sometimes I look at him and feel nothing. I read those messages in my office after everyone had gone home, Mia's desk lamp the only light in the outer room. She'd started staying late, bringing coffee, asking if I needed anything. I appreciated her presence, even when we didn't speak, but the financial records told an even darker story. Rebecca had been planning this for longer than I'd realized. 6 months before the reunion, she'd asked me to add her name to the house deed. I'd done it without question because that's what married people do. They share everything. Except she'd been building an exit strategy. In California, marital property gets split 50-50 in a divorce. The house we'd bought with my money, the one I'd poured savings into, she could force a sale and walk away with half. The withdrawals weren't just affair expenses. She'd been funneling money into a separate account, hidden under her maiden name. $23,000 over 4 months. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was systematically dismantling our life while I watched, oblivious. I hired a private investigator named Thomas Garrett, former FBI, now freelance, with a reputation for thoroughness. I gave him everything I had. You want dirt on both of them, he said. It wasn't a question. Everything, I confirmed. Ethan Hayes especially. I want to know what skeletons he's hiding. Garrett nodded. Give me 2 weeks. In the meantime, I played the dutiful husband. I came home on time, made dinner, asked about Rebecca's day. She answered with manufactured enthusiasm, spinning stories about marketing campaigns and difficult clients. Every word was a performance, and I watched her act like I was studying code for vulnerabilities. Ethan called her most nights around 10, after I'd supposedly gone to bed. I'd installed tracking software on her phone. Illegal, probably, but I was past caring about legality. I listened to their conversations through my laptop, Mia sometimes sitting beside me in the office, her presence a strange comfort. He doesn't suspect anything, Rebecca told Ethan one night. You're sure? Ethan's voice was smooth, confident. Ben lives in his own world. He barely notices me anymore. The irony was suffocating. She'd grown distant, withdrawn, built walls between us, and then blamed me for not noticing her behind those same walls. When are you going to tell him? Ethan asked. Soon. I need to make sure everything's in place first. The house, the accounts, everything legal. Smart girl, Ethan said. That's why I love you. I closed the laptop before I heard her response. Some things I didn't need confirmed. Garrett called on a Wednesday. You need to see this. We met at a coffee shop downtown. He slid a manila folder across the table. Ethan Hayes is dirty, Garrett said. Real dirty. His law firm handles corporate acquisitions, but he's been running a side operation, insider trading, using client information to make stock plays. He's careful, but not careful enough. I've got paper trails, transaction records, everything you'd need to bury him. I opened the folder. Bank statements, emails, trading records. It was beautiful in its completeness. There's more, Garrett continued. He's married. I looked up. What? Has been for 6 years. Wife's name is Jennifer Hayes. They have a 2-year-old daughter. He keeps that part of his life very separate from his extracurricular activities. The information settled over me like snow. Ethan wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was doing it while maintaining his own marriage, his own family. The hypocrisy was almost impressive. Does his wife know? I asked. Not about Rebecca specifically, but she's filed for divorce twice. Withdrew both times. My guess is he's got something on her, keeps her in line. I closed the folder. Thank you, Thomas. Send me your bill. One more thing, he said. What are you planning to do with this? I met his eyes. Whatever it takes. The plan took shape over the next week. I wasn't interested in violence. That was too simple, too quick. I wanted something more permanent. I wanted to dismantle their lives the way they'd dismantled mine, piece by careful piece. Step 1, public humiliation. Rebecca had another trip planned with Ethan, this time to San Diego. She'd told me it was a marketing conference. I'd smiled, kissed her goodbye, and booked myself a flight on the same plane. Mia came with me. You don't have to do this alone, she'd said. I didn't argue. The truth was, I'd started relying on her presence more than I should. She understood what I was going through in a way that didn't require explanation. We arrived at the airport 2 hours early and found a spot near their gate with a clear view of the boarding area. I had my laptop, surveillance equipment disguised as a camera bag, and a recorder in my jacket pocket. Rebecca and Ethan arrived separately, another precaution, but met at a coffee stand near the gate. I watched him kiss her, watched her laugh at something he whispered in her ear. They looked so normal, so innocent. Just another couple excited for a trip. I waited until they were boarding, right at the gate entrance where people were lined up with their tickets out. Rebecca! I called out, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. She turned, and the color drained from her face. Ben? What are you doing here? I walked up to her, Ethan already stepping protectively closer. Up close, he was exactly what I'd imagined. Tall, expensive suit, the kind of smile that probably charmed juries. I could ask you the same thing, I said, keeping my voice level. Marketing conference in San Diego, right? Funny how Ethan here is going to the same conference. This isn't what it looks like, Rebecca started, but her voice wavered. Really? Because it looks like my wife is going on vacation with her boyfriend while lying to my face about it. People were staring now, boarding grinding to a halt. Phones came out. This was the part I'd counted on. Public spaces, public shame. Ethan stepped forward. Look, man, you're clearly upset, but this isn't the place. You're right, I interrupted. This isn't the place. Your wife's house would be better. Jennifer, right? Does she know you're here with my wife? His face went rigid. You don't know what you're talking about. I pulled out my phone, held up the photo of them at the Colorado resort. 4 weeks ago. Want me to show everyone the other pictures? They get pretty interesting. Ben, please, Rebecca said, tears starting. Not here. Let's talk privately. That's funny. All those months you were screwing him, you didn't seem interested in talking to me. The gate agent was approaching, looking concerned. I didn't have much time. You want to know the really pathetic part? I continued. I would have worked on our marriage. If you'd told me you were unhappy, we could have fixed it. But instead you lied, you stole money from our account, and you plotted to take half of everything I built. So no, Rebecca, we're done talking. I turned and walked away, leaving her crying at the gate, Ethan trying to salvage the situation, and a dozen smartphones capturing every second. Mia was waiting around the corner. That was intense, she said quietly. That was the beginning, I replied. The video went viral by evening. Someone had posted it to social media with the caption, "Man confronts cheating wife at airport." Within 12 hours, it had 2 million views. Rebecca's face, frozen in shock and shame, became a meme. Her phone started ringing around midnight. I know because I was still tracking it. Friends, family, colleagues, all demanding explanations. She tried calling me 37 times. I didn't answer. Ethan's wife, Jennifer, called me the next morning. Is this Ben McAllister? Her voice was tight with control. Yes. I saw the video. I need to know everything, I told her. Not to hurt her, but because she deserved the truth the same way I'd deserved it. I sent her the evidence Garrett had compiled, the hotel receipts, the photos, the text messages where Ethan called his wife the ball and chain while planning getaways with mine. Thank you, she said finally. I'm filing for divorce today, and I'm sending your evidence to the State Bar Association. What he's doing with insider trading, that's career ending. Good, I said. Rebecca finally came home 2 days later. I'd changed the locks, but I opened the door when she knocked. She looked terrible. Eyes red, face pale, none of the confidence she'd had at the airport. Can we talk? She asked. Talk. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But we can get through this, Ben. We've been together for 8 years. That has to mean something. I leaned against the doorframe. You're right. It meant something. Past tense. I was unhappy. I felt invisible. You were always working, always distracted. So you cheated. You stole money. You planned to take half of everything I own. That's how you deal with being unhappy? I wasn't thinking clearly. Ethan made me feel... I don't care what Ethan made you feel, I interrupted. You want to know what the worst part is? Not the affair? I could have eventually forgiven that. It's the calculation. You added yourself to the house deed 6 months before the reunion. You started moving money 4 months ago. You planned this, Rebecca. You used me. Tears streamed down her face. I know I did. But I still love you. No, you don't. You love what I provided, the house, the stability, the comfortable life. You just wanted the excitement too. What do you want from me? She asked, voice breaking. Nothing. That's the point. I want nothing from you anymore. I handed her a folder. Inside were divorce papers, already filed. You'll get what's legally yours from the house sale. Nothing more. The money you stole, I have records of all of it. You can return it voluntarily, or I can make it part of the divorce proceedings and add fraud charges. Her hands shook as she opened the folder. Ben, please, you have 2 weeks to move out. After that, I'm having your belongings shipped to whatever address you provide. We're done, Rebecca. I closed the door in her face and stood there, listening to her sob on the other side. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not anger, not even sadness. Just empty. Ethan's life unraveled faster than Rebecca's. The State Bar Association launched an investigation within 48 hours of Jennifer's complaint. The insider trading evidence was damning enough that his law firm suspended him immediately, pending internal review. His wife took their daughter and moved back to her parents' house. The divorce filing made the local news because of the criminal allegations attached to it. I watched it all from a distance, tracking the developments like a researcher observing an experiment. Garrett kept me updated with periodic reports, but mostly I followed the public record. Rebecca moved out after a week, not 2. She went to stay with her sister, who called me 3 days later. "What you're doing to her is cruel," Sarah said. "What I'm doing? I gave her the truth she gave me. She made a mistake. She's human. She made calculated choices over 4 months. That's not a mistake, Sarah. That's a plan." She was quiet for a moment. "She said you've changed. That you're cold now." "Good. Cold is better than blind." Rebecca tried one more time, showing up at my office on a Thursday afternoon. Security called before letting her up, and I almost said no. But Mia, who'd been sorting through files at her desk, looked up and said, "You should see her. End it properly." So I did. Rebecca looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her choices. She sat across from my desk, hands folded in her lap like a penitent child. "I'm not here to beg," she said. "I just want you to understand why." "I know why. You wanted excitement. You wanted to feel desired. You wanted someone who wasn't buried in work. I get it, Rebecca. What I don't get is why you married me in the first place if that's what you needed. I loved you. I do love you. But somewhere along the way, we stopped being us. We became roommates who shared a bed. And that justified everything else? No, nothing justifies it. I'm trying to explain, not excuse." I leaned back in my chair, studying her. "Here's what I think. I think you loved the idea of me. The stable guy with a good career, the one who'd give you a nice house and a comfortable life. But when the stability became routine, you went looking for the next thrill. You're like someone who loves the honeymoon phase but can't do the work of actual marriage. That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" My voice rose despite my intention to stay calm. "You lied to me for months. You let me believe everything was fine while you planned your exit strategy. You stole from our joint account. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone who knew us. And now you want me to understand your perspective? I want you to forgive me." The request hung in the air between us, absurd in its audacity. "I can't give you that," I said finally. "Maybe someday I'll reach a place where what you did doesn't matter anymore. But forgiveness? That requires something from you that you're not capable of giving. Actual remorse, not just regret that you got caught." She stood up, and for a moment I saw the woman I'd married. Before the distance, before the lies, before everything fell apart. "I'm sorry," she said. "For whatever it's worth, I am truly sorry." "It's worth knowing you can still feel something," I replied. She left, and I didn't watch her go. Mia came in a few minutes later with coffee. She set it on my desk and sat in the chair Rebecca had vacated. "You okay?" she asked. "Getting there." "You did the right thing." "Did I? Sometimes I wonder if I should have tried harder, fought for the marriage." "She didn't fight for it," Mia said. "She gave up on you months ago. You're just refusing to hold on to someone who already let go." I looked at her, this young woman who'd somehow become my confidant through this whole mess. Thank you. For everything. You didn't have to stick around for all this drama. She smiled. Where else would I want to be? Ethan reached out to me 3 weeks after the airport incident. An email, short and to the point. We need to talk. Face to face. I considered ignoring it, but curiosity won out, and besides, I had one last card to play. We met at a bar downtown, neutral territory. He looked like he'd aged 5 years, suit wrinkled, shadows under his eyes, none of the polished confidence from before. Thanks for coming, he said as I sat down. Make it quick. He took a breath. I know you're the one who gave the evidence to my wife, and to the bar association. You're welcome. My career is over. My marriage is over. My firm fired me this morning. Congratulations. Now you know how it feels. He rubbed his face. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here to ask you to back off, please. Back off from what? I gave information that was already true. You did this to yourself, Ethan. I just made sure the right people found out about it. The insider trading charges, those are federal. I could go to prison. Should have thought about that before you broke the law, or before you slept with my wife. He looked at me with something like desperation. What do you want? Money? I'll pay you whatever you need. Just make this stop. This was the moment I'd been building toward. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table between us, recording light on. I want you to tell the truth, I said. Right here, right now, on camera. Tell me everything about the affair, how it started, how long it lasted, what you promised Rebecca, and admit to the insider trading. You're insane. I'm not confessing to a felony on camera. Then good luck at trial. I'm sure the prosecutor will enjoy all the evidence I've compiled. Every transaction, every email, every call you made to your broker with client information. His face went white. You've been tracking me? I'm a cybersecurity specialist. It's what I do. And you were sloppy, Ethan. So sloppy. He stared at the phone like it was a loaded gun. If I do this, will you stop? If you do this, I'll give you a copy of the confession to use however you want. Maybe it'll help in a plea deal. Maybe it won't. But it's more than you gave me. He was silent for a long moment. Then slowly he began to talk. He told me everything. The affair started with texts after the reunion, escalated to meetings, became physical within 2 weeks. Rebecca had been eager, even aggressive in pursuing it. She'd told him about her marriage, about feeling trapped, about wanting more from life. She said you were boring, Ethan said, and I had to give him credit. He at least had the decency to look ashamed. That you didn't appreciate her. I believed it because I wanted to. She was beautiful, exciting. I convinced myself we were in love. Were you going to leave your wife for her? He laughed bitterly. No, God, no. This was always just an escape. For both of us. The words stung despite everything. I'd been a placeholder, a safety net while she explored other options. The insider trading, I prompted. Started 2 years ago. Small plays at first, then bigger. I made about $400,000 before you caught me. I was going to stop after one more deal. They all say that. I know. He looked at me. I know what I did was wrong. All of it. But I loved her, Ben. Maybe not the way I should have, but I did. Love doesn't justify it, I said. Nothing justifies it. No, he agreed. Nothing does. I stopped the recording and pocketed my phone. You can go now. That's it? That's it. I got what I needed. He stood up, hesitated. For what it's worth, I am sorry. You deserve better than what she did. What we did. Yeah, I said. I did. He left, and I sat alone at the table, feeling the weight of the past months finally begin to lift. The divorce finalized 3 months later. Rebecca got her share of the house sale, minus the money she'd stolen, minus legal fees, minus everything else. She walked away with about $40,000 from an 8-year marriage. I kept the rest. Bought a smaller place downtown, modern and clean, with no memories attached to the walls. Ethan took a plea deal. 3 years in federal prison for securities fraud, disbarred, reputation destroyed. His wife got everything in their divorce. Rebecca tried to get her job back, but the scandal had made her toxic. Word had spread about the affair, the humiliation at the airport, the calculated betrayal. She moved to another state, started over somewhere, nobody knew her story. I learned all this through occasional updates from Garrett, who I'd kept on retainer. Not because I cared about Rebecca's fate, but because knowledge is power, and I wanted to know I was safe from any revenge attempts. There were none. She'd moved on, or at least moved away. My life slowly returned to normal, though I'd changed in ways I couldn't quite articulate. I was harder now, more careful with trust, but also clearer about what I wanted and what I wouldn't tolerate. Mia had been promoted to senior assistant, a title that came with a significant raise. She'd earned it, standing by me through the worst period of my life without judgment or pity. We had dinner one evening, 6 months after everything ended. Nothing romantic, just 2 colleagues sharing a meal. But there was an undercurrent now, an awareness of possibility that hadn't existed before. "You seem different," she said over wine. "Better, I think. I feel different, like I've been reset somehow. That's probably healthy, after what you went through." I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time without the filter of my marriage clouding my vision. She was younger than Rebecca, but also older in ways that mattered, more honest, more direct. "Thank you," I said. "I never properly thanked you for everything." "You don't have to thank me. I wanted to help." "Why? It wasn't your problem." She considered the question, swirling wine in her glass. "Because you deserved someone in your corner, and because I've known what it's like to be betrayed. My ex-fiancée cheated on me right before our wedding. I called it off, but it broke something in me. When I saw what you were going through, I recognized it. I didn't know that about you. Not something I advertise, but it made me understand your anger, your need for control. You weren't being vindictive. You were protecting yourself. Some people think I went too far. Some people have never been gutted by someone they loved. They don't get a vote." We finished dinner and walked back to our cars. At mine, she turned to me. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Sure. I had a crush on you when I first started working for you. Nothing inappropriate, you were married, and I respected that. But I thought you were brilliant and kind, and I couldn't understand why your wife didn't see that." I didn't know what to say. The confession hung between us, honest and vulnerable. "I'm not ready," I said finally, "for anything. I don't know if I will be for a long time." "I know. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that when you are ready, whenever that is, someone sees you. The real you." She kissed my cheek and got in her car, leaving me standing in the parking lot with a strange mix of emotions I couldn't quite name. A year after the divorce, I ran into Rebecca at a grocery store. Pure chance. I was shopping for dinner. She was in the checkout line when I turned down the aisle. We saw each other at the same time, and the world seemed to pause. She looked different. Thinner, hair shorter, wearing clothes that seemed cheaper than her old style. But there was something else, too, a kind of weariness that came from carrying consequences. "Ben," she said. "Rebecca." An awkward silence stretched between us, full of everything we'd been to each other and everything we'd destroyed. "How are you?" she asked finally. "Good. You?" "Surviving." She glanced away. "I'm living in Portland now. Fresh start." "That's good. I hope it works out for you." "Really?" I thought about it. "Yeah, really. I don't wish you harm, Rebecca. I just wish you'd been honest." She nodded slowly. "I think about that a lot. About what I could have done differently. I was so focused on what I was missing that I couldn't see what I had. That's usually how it works. For whatever it's worth, I'm sorry. Not because I want you back or want forgiveness. Just, I'm sorry for who I was to you. You deserved better. Yes, I agreed. I did. She smiled sadly. You seem happy. Or at least at peace. Getting there. It's a process. I should go. My boyfriend is waiting in the car. Of course she had a boyfriend. Some people can't be alone. Take care of yourself, Rebecca. You too, Ben. She walked away, and I watched her go without the crushing weight I'd expected to feel. She was just a person now, someone I used to know, someone who'd taught me painful lessons about trust and self-worth. I finished my shopping and drove home to my apartment, where Mia was waiting with takeout and a movie queued up. We'd started dating 3 months ago, taking it slow, building something on honesty instead of assumptions. How was the store? She asked as I set down groceries. Interesting. Ran into Rebecca. Her expression shifted slightly. And? And nothing. We talked for a minute. It was fine. Are you okay? I considered the question. Was I okay? Really okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find it was true. I think I am. She smiled and pulled me down onto the couch. Good, because this movie is terrible and I need someone to mock it with me. I laughed, and it felt genuine, light. Like something had finally released its grip on my chest. The credits rolled hours later, and Mia fell asleep against my shoulder. I stayed awake, thinking about the past year, about betrayal and revenge and the strange journey from devastation to peace. I'd gotten my revenge, not through violence or dramatic confrontation, but through truth. I'd exposed lies, protected myself, and let natural consequences do their work. Rebecca lost her marriage, her reputation, and her carefully constructed life. Ethan lost his career, his freedom, and his family. And I'd lost my naivety, my willingness to ignore red flags, my tendency to trust without verification. In return, I'd gained clarity, self-respect, and the knowledge that I could survive the worst thing I thought could happen to me. The apartment was quiet except for Mia's soft breathing. Outside, the city hummed with life, people making choices, building futures, destroying them, starting over. I looked down at the woman sleeping against me, someone who'd seen me at my worst and stayed anyway, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not for revenge or justice or even forgiveness, just hope that tomorrow would be better than today, that the future was still unwritten, and that maybe, finally, I could stop looking backward and start moving forward. The betrayal would always be part of my story. But it wasn't the ending I'd feared it would be. It was just a chapter. A painful, necessary chapter that had taught me who I was when everything was stripped away. I was still standing, still breathing, still capable of something resembling happiness. That was revenge enough. Mia stirred, opening her eyes. "You're thinking too loud," she murmured. "Sorry." "What about?" How strange it is that the worst thing that ever happened to me led to this. She sat up slightly, looking at me with those clear, honest eyes. "You know what I think? I think you would have figured out she was wrong for you eventually. This just accelerated the timeline. Maybe. Definitely. You're too smart to have stayed blind forever. You just loved her enough to try. And now? Now you're free. Actually free. Not just legally. And that's worth everything you went through to get here." She was right. The anger had burned itself out months ago, replaced by something calmer. Acceptance, maybe. Or just exhaustion from carrying hate around like luggage. I kissed the top of her head. "You're very wise for 27. 26. And you're very patronizing for 36. 35. Not for long. We laughed, and it felt good, easy, like something I'd forgotten how to do and was slowly relearning. 2 weeks before my 36th birthday, I received a handwritten letter from Ethan Hayes, sent from prison. In it, he revealed that Rebecca had been using both of us. She had planned the affair and divorce from the start, intending to paint herself as a victim and take everything from me. The insider trading info was her leverage, and she had manipulated us both. Ethan admitted his wrongs, but his letter changed everything for me. Rebecca hadn't been unhappy. She had been calculating. The affair, the lies, all of it was part of her strategy. It had never been about me. I wasn't the cause, I was just a pawn in her game. Rather than feeling devastated, I felt relief. Rebecca's actions weren't about my shortcomings, they were about her own brokenness. I put the letter away, knowing it was a reminder of who I was and who I had become. Later, I told Mia about the letter. She was shocked, but I explained that Rebecca hadn't broken any laws. She'd just ruined her own life. I wasn't seeking revenge. I had reclaimed my life, and that was enough. Revenge isn't about making them suffer more. It's about reclaiming your life, I told her. She smiled. You're better than you think you are. My birthday came and went, and 36 felt different, shaped by everything that had happened. Work was going well, and I was more fearless in business after surviving Rebecca's betrayal. Mia and I were solid, built on honesty and mutual respect. I started seeing a therapist, learning that surviving trauma and processing it were different. When asked about trusting again, I admitted that while I might always have doubts, I now knew that trust is about believing someone won't hurt you, not knowing they won't. 3 months later, Garrett told me Rebecca was engaged. I didn't care. If she was happy, that was her story. I had exposed the truth, and that was my revenge, letting the consequences take care of themselves. One evening, Mia came home with news of a job offer. I encouraged her to take it. Her success wasn't about us breaking up, but living and growing. She told me she loved me, and for the first time, I felt calm and certain. I loved her too. 6 months after selling my company, I started a cybersecurity firm with Mia. My life now was about what I had gained, not lost. Rebecca had tried to break me, but instead, she had helped rebuild me. The real revenge was not letting her destruction of me be permanent. At home, Mia and I shared a quiet evening. I didn't regret what I'd done with Rebecca. The real victory wasn't ruining her, it was finding happiness again. That was the revenge they'd never see coming.